All right, good evening. Good evening. Welcome to another Ask Alumni presentation. Tonight, we are going to be talking to Christian Medina, who is a 2019 alum from the iSchool. Christian, we're very happy to have you as a presenter this evening. Thank you very much for taking your time to talk to our students. Love the title, by the way, and very interested to hear what it is that you have to say as far as leadership skills that we don't learn in class. So this is I've been looking forward to this. So Christian is a results-driven director of growth operations with a company called Excel. 6+ years track record in leading agile transformations and driving revenue growth. Some of Christian's strong points are growth marketing, product management, agile planning, UX design, product and marketing data analysis, team development, business process improvements, pretty much across the board skills that you can use in both project and product management. And I love the tagline that you have in your LinkedIn profile, which is learning every day to master my craft and better myself as a human. That's amazing.
Yes.
So Christian, without further ado, my friend, the show is yours.
Thank you so much. All right. Welcome, everyone, whether you are currently in the presentation or you're watching at home the recap video. My name is Christian. I'm very excited to be here. As the presentation says, Agile Made Easy, leadership skills they don't teach in class. I'm going to talk a little bit about Agile project management. I'm going to talk a little bit about servant leadership, which is a concept. It's a general mindset of leadership, but it is mainly practiced in Agile teams. And also, like, how is this relevant to you in your career and how you could use this, to further yourself, whether you're a freshman, you're a senior, or you're a graduate student. What I'm talking about today is going to be fully relevant to you and what you're going to work on in the future. So hopefully you guys enjoy. Of course, if you have any questions, let me know. And let's get started. Also, do enjoy the graphics made. Shout out to the design team at the company I work for, Excel. This is like a template they had. I refurbished it. And in a couple hours, I got you guys something pretty nice.
Hey, I love the Syracuse S, by the way. Nice touch.
Of course, I had to. All right, guys. Welcome remarks. What's up, guys? That's me, I guess. We're discussing leadership. A couple things here, real quick. So there's not many of us in the audience, but I do ask, and actually, I don't usually use Zoom. I use Google Meet. Does Zoom have like a thumbs up feature, a thumbs down feature, right, with the audience? I believe they do, right? Something like that, something to interact with.
Yes, there's a react option at the
Okay.
bottom of your screen.
Okay, perfect. All right, guys. So do me a favor throughout this presentation. If you guys can, give me some reactions. Give me thumbs up, give me thumbs down, give me smiles, give me frowny faces. Let me know that you guys are engaged and actually listening to the presentation and like what's going on. Okay, that's the one thing I ask you. It doesn't matter what you're doing right now. If you have the opportunity, please use those emotes. I do appreciate that. Okay, awesome. All right, let's get started. All right, real quick intro before I even get into it. Who am I? Why should you even listen to me? What am I about? All right, so real quick summary on me. Born in Queens, New York, raised in Miami, Florida. That's where I currently live. I enrolled actually in the iSchool as a dual degree with Whitman. So all of my dual degree students out there, I do feel you. I will say after my freshman year, I did make a decision, decided to go fully with the iSchool. I dropped the dual degree. I felt the iSchool met my needs a little bit more. I graduated in 2019, IMNT, concentrations in project management and web design. I did a lot on campus. I did a lot of cultural organizations, but strictly in the iSchool, I was a team member of Bliss. I went to Asia Tech. That picture is actually me in 2017 in Singapore at Marina Bay. I did the MLB 24-hour hackathon, and I was an intern and a part-time, student worker at Sidearm Sports. So I truly, truly did it all. I did the slew of things I could in the iSchool. And that's one thing you get out of this presentation is to use the resources you have. You're going to see on the next page as well that I fully use them to my advantage. There are so many resources out there for you to get ahead of the game in your career. If there's anything you take out of this presentation, use me as an example. And then generally, if we're not talking about work, I enjoy cycling, video games, and film photography as well. Okay, Also a little bit about work. Once again, kind of my credentials and what's going on. So this is strictly off my LinkedIn. So you're gonna have to read it a little backwards. It's bottom left to top right. But this is essentially my career history. A couple things I want to highlight. One, the bottom three entries right here are three internships that I got directly off the iSchool and Syracuse University job boards. Okay. Once again, those resources are out there. I think I applied to maybe 50 opportunities. So you're not going to get the first one. But if you stay committed and you're interested and you really want to do something out there, you can get an opportunity, right? So my first opportunity was the Blackstone Launchpad. It's the Entrepreneur Center in Syracuse. After that, I worked with a graduate student who had a startup here in Syracuse. And then I worked at Sidearm Sports, which I believe many people at iSchool are familiar with already. And with that internship with iSchool, with Sidearm Sports, I then had a part-time job my senior year with Sidearm Sports, which was all incredible experiences. Those internships ultimately got me my first job out of college. So truly, it doesn't matter. And I got my first internship my sophomore year. So it doesn't matter if you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior. Go get them. Go get those internships. There's an opportunity for you. I guarantee it. The other thing I want to highlight here is continue your education post Syracuse. Just because you have a bachelor's degree or even a master's degree, it doesn't mean it's over for you, right? As far as education, you always have every day to learn and to better yourself as a human. There's always opportunities out there, and I want you to take advantage of them. Post grad, I went and got a Scrum Master certification, and I also got the PMP, Project Management certification. If you're interested in project management, if you've done the courses in Syracuse, you are going to be probably well aware of those two certifications. The CSM, which is the top right one, you can actually get while you're a student in Syracuse. So I actually highly suggest you grab that one. PMP, you do need some work experience, but I think it's like a year or two of experience. So once you get that experience, I highly advise you get the PMP. If you're interested in project management, that is definitely the more highly valued and coveted certificate, and is definitely respected. If you go to, when you apply to different places, they're going to know what you're talking about when you talk about PMP. And if you're interested to know more about like my career, we can definitely do questions at the end. Okay, why does this presentation matter to you, right? And what am I going to discuss? One, the workplace is shifting towards collaborative leadership models, right? The old way, the hierarchy way of kind of having the one person on top and many contributors at the bottom is changing, right? It's no longer like that. A lot of teams are implementing and adopting this format where everyone kind of has their own ownership and leadership in a team, and everyone is valuable, and you need to work together to come to solutions, right? Servant leadership is highly valued in agile and project management roles. Once again, we're going to discuss servant leadership. It's not directly related to only agile. You can use this in your everyday work or even like in projects in your classrooms today. It's a super awesome mindset that I'm excited to share with you. And then, yeah, last but not least, it is a mindset. It is a mindset. It's going to help you excel in teams, lead effectively, and stand out in job interviews. Someone who showcases qualities of a servant leader is usually someone you want on your team. All right, and we're going to get into that. Okay. All right. First up, we're going to do the basics of agile project management. I'm not going to get too into it. This is not a presentation for project management. There is, like I said, a really awesome course at Syracuse if you're interested in project management or if this piques your interest. So I'm only going to talk about the very basics just to kind of get through the door. Okay. So agile project management was originally designed for software development teams. It was meant to be more flexible. It was meant to focus on collaboration and continuous improvement over rigid planning. And that's what ended up happening is software development teams started using agile. They started liking it, and then other industries really started adopting it as well. So now it's not only tech companies that would use agile. Really, nonprofits, even government organizations, they could use agile as well. And once again, a lot more companies are going towards an agile model, or if they're already on a traditional model, they might try out some hybrid processes and opportunities where they'll try a little bit of both, right? And we'll kind of get to that. Okay, where's my mouse? All right, awesome. Okay, this is the very foundation of Agile, the very basic, the Agile Manifesto. So Agile is a concept that was created in around 2001. I'm sure in the early 90s, it was probably talked about, but the actual manifesto was created in 2001. And this described essentially 4 values and 12 principles intended to improve the software development cycle, okay? We're gonna talk about the 12 principles later, but here are the 4 foundational values that will essentially be the benchmark for the rest of this presentation. Okay, so real quick, let's go through them. Individuals and interactions over processes and tools, right? This one basically says that, you know, no matter how high up you get into an industry or whatever leadership role you get into, don't ever forget that what's making your product, even if it's AI, right? And it's supposedly, autonomous, it's people, right? It's everyday people. And it's not just your engineers, right? It's Dylan on the engineer team, right? It's Sarah on the engineer team. That's who you need to get familiar with and understand their tendencies and what they like, what they don't like. That is ultimately who's going to help you succeed in your career role. Okay, so don't ever forget that. Don't get too lost in the processes, the tools, whatever product you have to build. Always remember it's being built by people, right? People who are busy, people who have kids at home, people who have different problems in their life outside of work, right? And you have to work with these people. There's different personalities, right? So make sure to keep that in mind. Number two, working software or product over comprehensive documentation, right? So the old way of kind of doing project management was to set, this 13-step plan, 1A, 1B, 1C, 2A, 2B, 2C, and you have this whole plan laid out from the very beginning. All stakeholders agree to it, and you're going to follow the plan, right? Agile kind of believes in you do set a plan, but create a quick plan, right? Get the 5 Ws, right? Who, what, when, where, why, right? And then get started. Because once you get started and you start working on the software or whatever deliverable you're making, you're going to learn things about it along the way, right? You're going to learn challenges, you're going to get blockers, you're going to learn opportunities as you do it. Okay, so you can set a 20-step plan, but as you start, and you guys probably experience this, no plan always goes 100% to plan, right? That's just a fact of life, right? So make a quick plan and just get started, right? Once you get started, you're going to learn more. All right, number three, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, right? So whoever your customer is, whoever your stakeholder is, whoever you're working with, always talk to them, always keep talking to them. It's not about, once again, it's not about a one-time agreement at the beginning of a plan. It's not about a one-time agreement at the end of a plan. It's about always going to them, say on a weekly, daily, whatever the schedule is, basis, and getting their feedback, right? What is their opinion on the product status as of today, right? Do we need to make any changes? What can we do to service you better, right? And so that's the difference between collaboration and just doing, making a deal, almost like a negotiation at the beginning, right? And then four, and I kind of actually got into this, responding to change over following the plan, right? Whole point of Agile is that it embraces change. You want change, and you're going to learn more as you work on your process. Okay, so these are the 4 values. This will kind of set the tone for the rest of the presentation as you kind of learn a little more. Okay, so talk a little bit about Agile. What's actually differences between Agile and traditional, right? Maybe you're sitting here and you're not really familiar with traditional project management. So let's real quick highlights what's the difference, right? They're side by side. So one, the traditional method, which is also sometimes called waterfall. That's why I put it there. First, the waterfall methodology is linear and step by step, right? Once again, you have 20 steps and you have to go in order, right? If you mess up on step 6, you're going back to step 1, right? You have to do it from the beginning. Agile is iterative, it's flexible, right? You might have a plan set in the beginning, but as you work on the project, the plan is going to change, and that's acceptable. That's embraced, right? Once again, upfront planning over ongoing planning. Traditionally, you do everything upfront. You see that a lot in more older industries. A lot of like construction companies, you're going to see that a lot, where you have a plan up front and you can't really change things, right? If you're going to build a 100-story building, you can't really steer away from the plan, right? But once again, on more tech companies or more newer startups, your plan's going to change. It's inevitable. A 3 for traditional PM. Changes are costly. On Agile, embraces change. I kind of went into that already. And the last one, this is probably a new one, the most exciting. Hierarchical team versus a self-organizing team. Okay, the best way for me to describe it, or the way I like to visualize it, is kind of like your traditional hierarchy is like a triangle, right? You might have like the CEO on top, middle managers in the middle, and then contributors at the bottom. The self-organizing team is a circle, right? No one's on top of the other person. You're all in this together, and all of you guys have a responsibility on the team, right? So you might have a project lead, right, that might provide some guidance, and you might look at them if there are difficult questions. But at the end of the day, right, everyone is on the team for a reason, right? You have an engineer because, like, or let's say I'm talking about me, right? I have an engineer on my team because I'm not an engineer myself, right? Do I understand engineering concepts? Yes, of course. But if there's a new problem related to engineering, I shouldn't be the one to answer it. It should be my engineering lead who I have full confidence in my team to kind of figure it out. So that's the difference, right? So traditional, you have this typical pyramid structure. Self-organizing team, it's more of a circle. No one's on top of the other person. Everyone is equal and has equal opportunity. Okay. And then the last slide for Agile, let's see. Oh yeah, some common Agile frameworks. So Scrum, Kanban, Lean, and Safe. Really the top two are the ones I'm going to focus on real quick. And these are the ones you're going to see most likely in your career. Scrum, it's the most widely used. Teams work in short cycles called sprints, and they hold daily stand-ups. So basically, as a self-organizing team, once again, it'll be, let's say, 8 of you guys on a team. You guys will determine every 2 weeks. Usually, that's what most companies do. Every 2 weeks is a sprint. You will determine together in the next 2 weeks, what project are we going to work on and what tickets are we going to accomplish, right? And every day you meet up and you will, kind of discuss the project, go through any problems, go through any new opportunities, and keep going throughout that 2-week sprint to get everything done, right? So that one is the most popular. That's the one you will most likely encounter when you go into the workforce. The second one is Kanban. You'll also encounter this. It's the image in the bottom right. You might even have done this for some classes before. It's pretty typical. It's also really simple, which is why people like it. It's just a visual workflow management, right? It's a board. You might even done the sticky notes on like a whiteboard, right? You have the columns and you move tickets along the column in a very expected step-by-step order, depending on the task. So it's very simple. The other two, Lean and Safe, you most likely won't see, especially at least early on in your career. It truly depends on the industry you're in. Lean is a lot more in operational industry. So if you work at maybe like the Amazon warehouses and like the operations side, you might see Lean. Safe, as it says, it's designed for larger organizations. Those are for more maybe like the legacy organizations that are trying to get into Agile. They might do a Safe framework. Okay, so that is the bare bones of Agile. Now I actually want to get into servant leadership, which is like the main point of this presentation. Okay, so who here has heard of servant leadership? Maybe like thumbs up or thumbs down. Who here? If you've heard it, give me a thumbs up, like a heart or something. If you haven't heard it, I guess you can be silent. Anybody? Okay, we have one person. It's a tough crowd here. It's all good. All right. Servant leadership. It's like I said, it's a mindset. It's a philosophy, right? It's a mindset that prioritizes the growth and the well-being and success of your team, right? It's not about being the authoritative figure. It's not about having control. It's not about being the boss. It's about making sure that your team is in its best, how do I want to say it? In the best case scenario, I guess. You're setting up your team for success. Long story short, and it's up to you to get it done. Let's check it out. Okay. So what makes a servant leader, right? So these are some of the key traits of a servant leader. Before I even go into all of them, the first thing you're going to notice as you're reading them and you go down the list, none of these are hard skills. You don't need any hard skills to be a good leader, to be a good servant leader. These are all soft skills. These are all soft skills that you can have today and you can master today, right? And I can speak frankly, and you guys probably have your own experiences. When you work in teams, whether it's like a team project for school or you're working on a team at work, the best people to work with are people who have these soft skills, right? People that are easy to work with and are fun to work with. Those are the best people, right? It's not necessarily the best coder. It's not necessarily the best designer on your team. It's not necessarily, the best data analyst, right? Obviously, those are great skills to have, but the best people to work with in a team have these traits, okay? And you can practice these traits today. You don't have to be in a leadership role to practice these traits. You can start doing them today as a contributor or really whatever you're doing in life. All right, so real quick, we'll run through it. Empathy, of course, understanding your teammates and understanding what challenges they have. Remember, they have real problems outside of work, right? It's not everything that at work matters. They have other things that they have to worry about, and you have to take that into consideration, right? Active listening, hearing and valuing everyone's voice. I think everyone here has probably heard of active listening. You're not just listening to respond. You're listening because you're trying to understand someone. Very, very important. Third one, this is a very, very big one when it comes to agile and servant leadership, coaching over commanding, okay? It's not about telling people what to do. It's about coaching them to understand the best solution in the future, right? If you guys heard I guess probably heard like the metaphor, the idiom. I'm gonna butcher it right now, but it's better to teach someone how to fish than to just feed them a fish, right? Similar concept here, right? Teach someone the right way to do things, or give them the context to do it right. Don't just tell them, because then you're gonna have to keep telling them every single time, right? It's not in your benefit or in their benefit, really, for growth. 4, removing obstacles. Your job as a servant leader, once again, is not to tell them what to do and direct people. It's just to remove barriers so they can do their best work possible, right? So if you have an engineer that they're working on a project, but they can't do their project until they coordinate with the designer on a design and makes it get approved, right? But let's say that's the blocker. It is your job to get everyone together and resolve that blocker, right? It's not your job to tell the engineer to talk to the designer. You have to bring everyone together, right? It's about clearing barriers for your team. All right, building trust and psychological safety. That one's pretty self-explanatory. If you have no trust in a team, or the team has no trust in you, you truly cannot lead a team. That is the bare minimum when it comes to leading, being a leader. And then empowering others, right? Delegating responsibility and letting team members shine. It's not about you as a leader, right? Maybe you're excited to get that leadership role, but they didn't put you in that leadership role just for you to take all the glory, take all the credit, right? A pro tip I like to tell people when they join a company: never use I. I rarely use the word I or the pronoun I. If I'm using I, it's probably because I'm taking responsibility for a mistake I made. But besides that, everything is we. Everything is we. We are doing things together. We are figuring out problems. We are creating solutions. Okay. So that is what we mean when we say empowering others. It's not about you whatsoever. Okay. It's about the team and the team's success. If the team is successful, then you're successful. Okay. All right. Let's keep it pushing. Okay. The difference between traditional and servant leadership, right? Once again, quick little graphic, very easy to tell. So once again, traditional leadership is top down, right? You get orders from the top and it trickles down to the bottom contributors, right? Servant leadership is the other way around. It's bottom up. Contributors at the bottom will provide their best guidance and their best advisable solutions, and it will move its way up to the leadership, maybe for a double check or like an approval, I guess you would say. But at the end of the day, it's the contributors' ideas that we're pushing. It's not the leaders' ideas or their shot calls that we're doing. Command over support. Once again, it's not about telling people what to do. It's about supporting them on their decisions, right? Even if you don't think it's the best decision like possible, even if it's second best solution, sometimes it's good to go with it, right? To learn from it. Okay. Control over context. This is my favorite one when it comes to this. It's not about having control of all parts, right? It's not about being a micromanager and having to make sure everything's done in a certain way that you deem is the best way. It's about providing people context on a problem and letting them, with the context, determine their own solution, right? So let's say you have a compliance concern. Maybe a regulator is giving you a change on one of your features or your website. Don't just tell your engineer, designer, whoever you're working with to make a change. Give them the whole prompt, right? Tell them what the regulator is saying. Tell them what notes they were passed. And from there, let them determine a solution. You can work with them on a solution, but once again, if you give them the context, they now feel empowered that they are making the change. They are doing something for the company, right? They are contributing. It's not about you. And then last but not least, leader focus versus team centric. I'm sure I've been hammering that this whole time. It's about the team success and ultimately what the team wants to do. You just have to guide the team and coach the team to, kind of the right trajectory. By the end of the day, let the team make the decisions. You are just there to help. That is your main role. Okay, 12 principles to lead agile projects. So this is actually the 12 principles from the Agile Manifesto that I was mentioning. They're very straightforward and they're meant to be straightforward. I'm going to quickly, there's 12 of them, so I'm going to make it very fast. I'm going to go through all 12. Obviously, if you have questions later about any of these 12 or anything I've discussed, feel free to write it down and ask me at the end. Okay, all right, first one, put the customer first. The highest priority is always to satisfy the customer. You can also maybe change that to stakeholder, customer stakeholder, whichever one. But that's the number one priority, right? If your customer is happy, if your peoples are happy, then right, you're happy, right? Let's see, welcoming change. Once again, kind of hammered this a little bit, but always welcoming change, right? Change is the competitive advantage that you have over your other competitors or other businesses, being able to adapt and change to the environment, right? I think a big change you saw in the industry was probably AI, right? You guys are obviously all familiar with it, but when OpenAI came out with ChatGPT, I'm sure many tech companies threw out their 5-year, 3-year, 10-year plans. I'm sure many of them threw it out immediately off the off the genius of AI, and they had to welcome change if you want to stay competitive in this market, right? If you stuck to your 10-year plan and are not trying to take advantage of AI, you're probably falling behind right now in your industry. And so that is a key principle when it comes to leading. Deliver frequently, right? So once again, this goes back to like being iterative and being flexible, right? Always talk to your customer and always deliver on and get feedback on what they're looking for, right? So let's say you're working on a 4-month project, couple weeks in or 1 month in, give an update to the stakeholder, right? Give an update to your customer, get their opinions, right? You could be going in the totally wrong direction for all you know, but you won't know until you tell your customer and talk to them. Okay, it's that easy. And you can only talk to them if you deliver frequently, right? Every time you make progress, you share the progress, get an opinion, go back to work, right? Collaborate across teams, pretty self-explanatory, but you cannot do the job yourself. There is a ton of people backing you up on any project you do. Talk to them, get to know them. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen leaders ask for projects and never even talk to the person who's actually doing the work. Actually talk to them, get to know them. That's when you're going to get the best quality work possible, when you actually get to meet them and know them and collaborate with them often. So please meet everyone that is going to work with you on a team. Cultivate talent, right? You're not only building up projects, but you're building up individuals, right? So if you see individuals who are highly motivated, ready to learn, maybe they're even showcasing some of the key traits I shared earlier, right? Maybe they're empathetic, they're active at listening, they know how to provide context, stuff like that. Make sure you keep them on the team, right? Support them. Don't let them go. Trust me, the longer you work, the more you're gonna realize it's hard to find great talent and great people to work with. So whenever you do find them, do not let them go. Once again, hard skills can be taught. Soft skills are a lot harder to learn. You actually have to work at them if you want to make them better, right? So when you find that person with the soft skills, try to hold them. Talk often. Once again, self-explanatory, but it's harder said than done, especially in a remote environment, right? The company I work for is fully remote. We have a policy where every time you're in a meeting, you have to show video. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Why? Because it's about promote. Like there's only man, I forgot what the stat was for it, but there you learn so much more about what someone's saying when you actually can see them, right? You can see the facial expressions and you can see their hands move about what they're talking about. And there's so much more value in that, right? In actually talking to someone, right? Remote, it's so easy to get lost. You just look at a black tile with someone's name, or maybe you're just typing in Slack or Skype all day, right? Whatever the case is. You have to talk to people and actually see them in their eyes to really get the best value out of something, right? So I highly suggest, especially if you're going to work remote, if that's your plan, always share video. Even if your company or the company you work for does not usually share video, be the difference maker. People are going to notice that you're the guy who shares his video, right? That they're going to notice it and they're going to appreciate that. Okay, measure what matters. Working software is the primary measure of progress. Once again, you can show someone a 10-step plan. The plan does not matter. What matters is what you're delivering. Are you actually executing on the plan? Did the plan change? And whatever you are working on, can I see it? That's what matters. That's what people care about, right? The plan doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Pace work to avoid burnout. So this is another big thing. I think there could be a misconception that like because things are changing or because maybe the industry that you're working in, that you have to overwork yourself or your team, you have to overwork your team, whatever, to hit results or hit deadlines. That is not the point of agile and being a good leader. A good leader will pace the work to make sure that no one feels overburdened. And if someone does, it's honestly your job to protect the team, talk to maybe the main stakeholder and try to adjust the timeline at that point. Okay. So the main goal when you're trying to be a servant leader is to protect your team. Your team's well-being is the number one priority. And if that means, once again, changing schedules, changing costs to get it done, I highly advise that. You might get some short-term grief from the stakeholder, but your team's longevity is what really matters when it comes to that. Focus on quality, not speed. Once again, self-explanatory. Don't just try to be the fastest guy out there. Be the person that provides quality. If you provide quality, people are going to come back to you every single time to work with you. if you're just providing something fast and out the door, but it's cheap, they're not going to want to come back. Embrace simplicity. Keep things simple. I know it sounds simple, right? Sounds simple to keep things simple, but you'll be surprised how complex processes can get when enough hands, enough cooks are in the kitchen. Okay, people appreciate simplicity. Like it doesn't matter, truly, it doesn't matter who you meet in the industry, however many years they've worked, however many PhDs they have. Everyone appreciates simplicity, right? Little acronyms, quick 3-step plans, right? That is what you're looking for. Don't micromanage, right? Self-explanatory. And then last, reflect and adjust. There's always room for improvement on your leadership style. Even if you think you have a really great leadership style, you can always improve. I always tell my teams to give me feedback. I'm always open to it, especially if I'm trying a new process. If you're going to try something completely new and you know it's new, I like to be upfront about it. I like to tell people, hey, this is completely new. I don't know how this is going to work. If you don't like something, just tell me. If you do like something, also tell me, and I'll double down on that. And so if you're just honest and you're willing to take feedback from other people, you can once again improve your leadership style and improve your own processes as you work, right? It's always about being open to feedback, as a leader or as a contributor. Okay, and now we're getting to the end, guys. Thanks for sticking with me so far. Career relevance. So why does all this matter? Okay, so how this can accelerate your career path. So one, future employers value candidates who can collaborate, lead, and empower teams. Okay, I'll tell you right now, especially if you're especially if you're just graduating undergrad, you on it like employers are not expecting you on an entry-level role to have a lot of experience. To be completely honest, right? We're not looking at you thinking you're going to be the next, greatest mind in the world. Quite frankly, when we're interviewing people on entry-level roles, we're looking with someone with some gusto, right? Someone who's excited to be at this company, someone who's excited to learn. Maybe you have some base foundational hard skills, but really it's the person who's excited in the interview and who is ready to work with a team and ready to do, work on the projects. That's who we're going to hire, right? So if you are showing these soft skills in an interview, you are most likely going to get the role over someone else, okay? Because once again, especially off undergrad, we're not expecting, the number one mind in the space. Even if you're not in a leadership role yet, you can still practice servant leadership. Once again, so in job interviews, showing your teamwork and leadership potential, right? Sharing stories about projects you did at school, maybe internships you did, and how you showed skills as leadership. Easy way to do it in a job interview. Early career roles, building strong relationships and trust, right? Talking with your mentors or finding a mentor, right? In a company and being vocal about what you want to learn, right? I was super big on asking questions, and I still am, right? I always ask questions. There's no such thing as a dumb question. And all you're doing by asking questions is showcasing that you want to learn. That's all people think when you ask questions. And then promotions, if you demonstrate leadership skills without the official title, right? So even though you're not a leader, maybe you're a coordinator or manager, whatever you're called, if you show these characteristics, people are going to want to give you bigger projects, bigger opportunities, and eventually you will get that promotion. Okay, I guarantee it. If you showcase these values, they're going to give it to you. Okay, servant leadership as a young professional. Be proactive. This is a huge one. Oh my gosh. Volunteer to help others in group projects and work teams. Okay, I can't tell you how many times I've talked to someone who just got a new role, and they're telling me, "Hey, Christian, this job is great. I get paid to do nothing. Right? I do all my work in 5 hours or 4 hours, and I have another 4 hours to chill." The first thing I always tell them: did you ask them for more work? Did you ask to see if anyone needed help around you for your free time? Oh, no, I'm enjoying the free time. Don't do that. That is such a mistake early on in your career, okay? They're assuming, right, if they gave you 2 assignments, they're assuming it took you the full 8 hours because you didn't say anything, right? They're assuming, oh man, this guy takes 8 hours to do 2 assignments. They're looking at you poorly because of that, okay? If you have the free time early on in your career, volunteer to help, okay? A lot of times, honestly, you'll get a no, and that's totally cool. Then you can relax, right? But the fact that you asked, I promise you can ask anyone. People don't really ask nowadays if you need help, right? How can I help? People don't do that often enough, and people that do stand out completely. Listen actively. Make sure everyone's voice is heard. Once again, take notes on what people are saying. Don't let little comments kind of go off to the wayside, and let people know that they're being heard too, right? I like to, during meetings, if someone says something, I like to always call back to them and be like, hey, Christian, that was a great point, right? And if you need to move on, you can move on, but always make sure that their voice is heard and they feel like, empowered, and they made a good comment, right? Remove barriers, help teammates by sharing resources and knowledge. Once again, similar to the proactive one. Be vocal, okay? Be there to help, especially early on. And then seek feedback. Once again, this is what I was saying about asking questions. How can I, right? Ask your mentor, ask your leader, how can I improve, right? How can I support the team? What's the next thing I can do to get my next career jump, right? Do these things, right? If you showcase these 4 types of soft skills and once again being proactive, they're going to notice and they're going to give you more opportunity, right? And I always say opportunity because you're going to get opportunity first, then you're going to get the promotion. Okay, the promotion doesn't come first. Okay, but you have to be willing to take on the opportunity. Now this is the last slide, and it's not about it's not always about how well you do in servant leadership. I also want to make sure that when you guys apply to places, that you're looking at places and trying to see if they practice servant leadership themselves. Okay, right? You have to judge and you have to interview the employer just as much as they're interviewing you. Okay, so ask them questions about do leaders support employee growth and development? Is feedback encouraged? Can I ask a lot of questions? Do team members feel valued and empowered? Right? These questions are super, super important. The last thing you want to do is to get a good job in a bad company. It is going to be tough, right? If you ever get put in that position. So I'd much rather you guys go to a good company where you're respected and you're valued and you're able to grow in those positions. Super, super huge. All right, guys. Thank you for listening to me. I think I did it all in maybe like 20-30 minutes. So sorry if that took too long. The final thought I have, once again, servant leadership, it's not about a title. It's not about, I'm a director, I'm whatever I am. It's about how you show up for others, okay? If you lead with service, success will always follow. So please, guys, thank you again for listening. I hope you found some value in this presentation. And if you have any questions, I am open to them. Thank you.
Christian, thank you so much for that information. It was very insightful. And I have to say, your quick illustration of what Agile is, I thought was amazing. So there's always people have a hard time describing what Agile means and what it does and how to use it. And I felt like the way that you described it was very good. So thank you for that. And I love how you intersected Agile with leadership and the principles that Agile really endorses. So I did take some notes. I don't want to be the driver of the questions. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the recording, and then I'm going to open it up for anybody who would like to ask any questions to Christian or want to give feedback or just have anything that you want to talk about that Christian might be able to help you with.
Yep. It could also